Okay, good evening everyone. Okay, we'll get started for today's session over here. So as usual, we're gonna run through the week of events, and then I'll share with you some of the kind of opportunities to look out for. Okay, and then after that, we'll do a very simple quick one Q&A, see if you have any particular questions, we can then answer on that. Okay, so if you take a look at this week's event calendar, quite a bit of news that you probably want to take note of. Of course, today you can see a couple of PMI data coming in or lower than expected. But again, not much of a move in the market as of today. Right? Mondays are slow usually, and of course, these PMIs are not like the most important data of all. Right? And then if you move into the week, Wednesday, we do have the Australia CPI data, right? Obviously, that's going to be important because that's inflationary. And then we have the Fed funds rate coming in on Thursday, right? Naturally, that's going to be important. And of course, you can see over here, the market is actually expecting a 0.25% hike, okay? So I don't think this would be, the hike itself would not be very, very significant. But I think more importantly would be the press conference, and likely the press will be asking the Fed as to whether we're gonna see another hike, okay, or is 5.5 gonna be likely the peak of Fed funds rate. Okay, so that's gonna be a little bit more crucial, and of course, do expect volatility coming in for the dollar itself. Okay, and then of course, after that we have the ECB. You can see over here. Okay, so ECB over here, nothing of a surprise. I think likely we're gonna see a 0.25% hike as well. So just monitor on that. Okay, and then going forward on Friday, we do have the Bank of Japan. Okay, now Bank of Japan is gonna be tricky moving forward. Okay, just last 2 weeks we kind of had a news stating that BOJ would likely shift its policy from the recent YCC, easing policy, potentially to start considering tightening. And then just last week, they released another statement and say that likely that will not happen so soon. They're likely still going to continue its easing policy and such. So it's not going to be easy navigating the yen pair from the Bank of Japan perspective, right? From a fundamental perspective, it's not going to be easy. But my personal take over here is you definitely will want to be looking out for opportunity where the yen would strengthen in the future from a fundamental point of view. Right? Simply because the Bank of Japan has been in an easing policy for some time already. In the recent year itself, close to a year, many banks has already start hiking rates and likely going to reach a peak soon, while the Bank of Japan has been maintaining its easing policy all this while. Okay, now we also seen inflationary pressure push up a little bit in Japan. So moving forward, there is that potential opportunity where Bank of Japan may consider shifting their policy. And when that happens, that's where we're gonna see a huge movement for the yen, right? And of course, then that will open up a huge opportunity on that. Okay. Now, so with that said, okay, let's take a look at some of the charts over here. Now we'll start off with the dollar index. Okay, so dollar index as of today, the market can pull up quite a bit since last week until right now. Now the price is still trading around that 38.2 area. So overall, we may be still seeing a little bit more of the downside for the US dollar. And the structure wise, in terms of like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, as long as price is still below 101.90, okay, we are still in a valid 5-wave structure. Okay, however, if let's say price decides to break above 101.90, then we'll need to change our structure a little bit. Okay, let me just very, very quickly take a look at this move here. Just want to keep track, and we didn't really tag at 1618. Okay, so the idea is, of course, if price can't break above this, then we'll shift our count a little bit instead of a 5-wave structure. What this may develop into is potentially this can just be a simple ABC. Okay, so it's a 3-wave move, And of course, with that said, okay, then we'll basically expect kind of like a 1, 2, 3, and then only a down move, right? So we'll see. I mean, right now we may just simply put this as a 3 wave as well. We'll see how the pullback happens, right? So if that's going to be a 3 wave pullback, we'll probably look around that 50 and 618 FIB. Okay, so then this is the second scenario that potentially can develop. Okay, so in that case, then of course, if you kind of get a corrective pullback from here, okay, short term we may consider a buy trade, and then after that it's still a sell. Okay, so dollar index, that's the perspective. So overall, you just want to be a little bit patient. Don't jump into any trade too aggressive for now. Okay, and then we have the euro. Okay, so euro can be a little bit clearer in terms of the structure. So over here we kind of see a very clear 1, 2, 3. We did get that rejection from last week. Okay, so that's what we want to see as of now. So we'll be waiting for any kind of a corrective pullback. Okay, so corrective means if we can get a slow little 3 wave move back up towards that 50 and 618 zone, that will open up an opportunity for us to take the sell, right? So then our target, of course, will be back below around 1.0950 to 1.098, 1.0880, right? So it's again a very simple expectation of a 3 wave move here. Okay, so wait for a corrective pullback. Again, take note of some of the fundamental data that's being released today. Not this week, not today, right? So there might be some volatility, right? So ideally, what we want to see is, of course, this continue to blow up closer towards the Fed, and of course, if the Fed can release, that might be a catalyst to push the euro dollar downside, or even ECB itself may push the euro dollar to the downside, right? So a couple of events to take note of if you're trading the euro. Of course, with ECB, we have the Feds coming in on Thursday, right? So that's the outlook as of today, right now. GBP USD more or less the same. Okay, the only slight difference here, of course, if you're interested in some kind of a short-term bounce, I think GBP USD may provide you a short-term buy trade opportunity. Okay, the reason is because if you go down to the lower time frame, we do have a very nice little corrective crawl pattern plus a divergence on the hourly, right? So that kind of build up the possibility of a potential reversal trade, short-term buy trade to the upside, right? So this kind of built in something like this, okay, where you can have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And fifth wave likely is almost done. Okay. So let me put in that count for you. Okay, where's all my drawing? Okay. Let me just quit this and come back in, yeah? Okay, just want to ensure all my drawings are there. Alright, okay, so we're back. Okay, so the idea here is you can see if I kind of put in a label, okay, then this would be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah? Cool. Okay, so with that, right, so what we can expect, of course, is a little bit of a bounce lower maybe, and then after that you can look for a short-term reversal to the upside for a short-term play. Okay, and once it reaches this level around that 50 and 620, of course, you'll be more interested in the sell side. Okay, so pound dollar is definitely going to be something that you want to keep a very close watch for the week. Okay, because you may get a buy trade earlier part of this week, and then you may get a sell trade opportunity to end off the week. Okay, so this GBP USD. Then we have Aussie. Now for me, Aussie, I'm basically remaining a very neutral perspective. We kind of have a double top structure. The market came down, but as of now, if you pull in your fibs, we're basically testing that 50 and 618 area. So just remain neutral. We want to see how the market is going to react from here. An impulsive bounce up, of course, then we'll be expecting a little bit more upside to retest the top. If we kind of get a corrective bounce from here, then we can anticipate that the market would likely move lower and retest the bottom, right? So we're basically looking at this range. Whether we look for an upside or we look for a downside, we want to see how the market is going to react. around that 50 and 618 moving forward. So Aussie dollar definitely neutral. Give it time, see how the market's going to develop. Okay. Then we have the dollar Canadian. Now dollar Canadian over here, I'm looking at a potential three-wave corrective push to the upside. So as long as the market continue to kind of develop within this channel, it's definitely corrective in nature. And of course, if we can get a little bit of a push down like that, short term, we may look for a buy, right? So short term bullishness. And the target here for the short term likely is going to be around that 1.3275. Okay. What I can of course use is also an extension over here. Okay, we can do something like that. And the target can be somewhere around 1.327, right? So it's kind of almost similar area, right? 1.3327, 1.3275, basically is around there. And short-term buy, and then of course, if that's gonna be the case where this basically goes up and then we can see a little bit of rejection here, this would tell us more downside. To complete this as a 1, 2, 3. Okay, so quite similar to the, I would say, pound dollar, right? Short-term potential buy, and then after that we'll look for a swing trade to the downside. Okay, GBP here as well, short-term upside, then swing trade to the downside. Okay, now then we have the dollar yen. Okay, so dollar yen right now is kind of testing around at 50 and 618, right? So obviously we are bearish overall, okay, because this is still basically impulse move. But this pullback is a bit fast. Okay, so at this moment now, I'm not too keen to just commit to any sell trade. Ideally, I want to see this drop, right? Kind of V-shaped formation here, and then after that, form a corrective pullback. Then over here, this will be an area that I can consider to sell, right? I'll be more committed, and that will be a higher probability trade. So dollar yen, I think this week we're probably not going to get anything. Okay, we'll probably just need to wait until the Fed funds rate, the press conference is done. Following Friday, we have the Bank of Japan, and then that's also done. Then we'll probably only get some decent setup, okay, especially in terms of dollar yen. But in terms of other yens like pound yen, you know, very nice little move here. Aussie yen also pretty nice little move. Okay, so if you're looking at the yen pairs, I think the pound yen and the Aussie yen may give us a better opportunity. Okay, because the structure from a technical point of view, pound yen and Aussie yen is a clearer opportunity to sell as compared to the dollar yen. Okay, so I really like how pound yen is actually reacting, right? So we kind of get this move down, three-wave corrective push, respecting that inner trend line, inner channel. We get a nice little rejection, so any kind of corrective pullback, obviously we can look for a short-term sell with a target around 178, right, to complete the 1, 2, 3, and then overall this is still within the channel. Okay, so between the yen pairs, I think pound yen is definitely one of the better ones to really pay attention. Aussie yen a little bit, okay, we haven't really tagged that 100% fit, but again, the market doesn't need to always do that in you know, it doesn't need to be perfect. Right now what we can see is this can still be done. Okay, now overall that's the channel. Quite similar to the pound yen, right? Basically very clear structure, impulse, three-wave push. So any kind of push down, corrective pullback is actually a sell trade opportunity with the target at the bottom of the channel, right? So pound yen, Aussie yen, definitely very nice structure for you to consider. Okay, now in terms of gold, we are basically looking at a rejection after a very nice little 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So right now going forward, you know, we want to wait for kind of a corrective pullback, right? You don't want to be selling it here right now, especially when the market just gives you this kind of rejection. Always wait for the pullback, and if you can get a corrective move like that, then of course around this zone will be a nice little sell with a target here at 1945, right? So I'm a little bit neutral right now because I just want to wait for a correction. Okay, because if this just goes back up like a V, then of course we won't be committing to the sell trade, right? The prerequisite here is this needs to develop correctively. Okay, so that's on gold. Crude oil over here, we're still pushing a little bit to the upside, but again, I just want to be very conservative. I would personally suggest wait for the pullback. Now, what can develop over here is likely what we call an expanding flat structure. Okay, so we're still looking at three-wave move. And of course, if the market starts to push back lower from here, that may open up what we call an expanding flat. Okay, so basically this breaks that previous high, so we can't expect that this pullback here may break this low and then it bounce. Okay, so obviously buying at the top here is not going to be ideal, right? Okay, you will always want to wait for the pullback before you commit to any buy trade. So while the general direction for crude oil is bullish, we would suggest to be a little bit patient. Okay, wait for the pullback before you get involved in the buy. S&P is basically still kind of like floating around that Fib level. Okay, ideally again, we just want to be neutral, want to be patient, wait for the pullback before we commit to any buy trade, right? So some of this pair here, probably just need to leave it aside for this week, come back maybe another time. There are clearer opportunities that you can focus on, like, you know, pound dollar, dollar Canadian, even the pound yen, Aussie yen, definitely at a better pass and trading opportunities within this week, right? So you want to keep an eye on those. Okay. Euro pound, we are looking at a 5-wave structure potentially, but not the best, okay, because wave 4 seems to be quite steep. So I would not want to be looking to buy immediately, but if let's say this continue to push up a little bit, come back down a little bit, and this forms something like this, then yes, that would be a clearer structure to look for a buy. But until then, I'll be bullish, but I'll wait. Okay, so definitely not the best pair to focus. Then we have pound oil, right? So pound oil from this high here came down in 3, very nice little 3, and then did a bounce. So again, quite simple. We want to wait for a 3-wave, push down a little bit more, go back up, and if this develops into 3-wave structure like that, that will be a sell trade for us to take to the downside. Okay, so this one here, probably again, you need to wait maybe closer towards end of the week next week, then the setup will come to us. Okay, so not so soon. Bitcoin, okay, we kind of dip into this territory right now, and again, we'll just be patient. Now what we can do is we can look for breakout entries, right? Again, if I push this, we don't really have a divergence yet, right? Okay, but this is what we call a potential expanding flat. Okay, where you can see this breaks the high, and this actually already broke that low, right? But we don't want to jump in and buy immediately, right? Because if this is coming down, we want to see some sign of a rejection before we get in on the trade, right? Depending on, again, how aggressive your entry is. So for me, this will be a good area to look for as a potential breakout buy trade, right? So in other words, if the market continues to develop like that, and then one time it just decides to break above it, that would be your buy trade, right? Or if you're a little bit more conservative, you wait for the pullback, and then that would be your buy trade to look for upside. But the idea is you wait for some kind of a break. You want to see an impulsive move to the upside before you commit to the buy. Okay, other than that, just be patient. Just observe. Oh. Okay, so that's basically some of the things from my side, right? I think those that I've tagged, let me just remove dollar again. Euro dollar, probably also want to remove it a bit. Okay, I mean, in terms of like the highest probability and the one that is really worth you paying a little bit more time and focus on, will be the one that I tag, right? Like pound dollar potential buy, dollar cap potential buy, short term buy, right? Mid term, you want to look for sell. Okay, pound yen, look for sell. Aussie yen, look for sell. BTC, you can potentially start focusing on buy trade opportunity. Okay, so these are the few. Okay, in terms of some Asia index, right? Okay, in terms of like Hong Kong, I think we may be looking at a potential bounce here, right? Not the most ideal pullback, but we kind of have a 3-wave that looks something like that. Okay. Again, depending on how aggressive you are, okay, you may consider to come buy it here because we kind of have this little 3-wave, small little rejection here. But of course, if you are a bit more conservative, my suggestion is wait for a push up, wait for a pullback, okay, and then once you see this set up, then only you commit to the buy, right? But overall, I think there's a good chance we'll see a little bit more upside coming back to retest the top of this channel. Right, so that's Hong Kong, okay. Then in terms of China, really not much, but I think for what we're seeing here, right? Maybe I'm gonna adjust this a little bit. Okay, from what we're seeing here, especially this little development, there's a good chance we may see a little bit back up, then maybe another move down, right? So short term, there might be a relief bounce to the upside. Okay, I think there's also a clear divergence building up, right? This pattern here usually would have a divergence. So my take on the China market is a little bit on the upside. Okay, but you want to be careful once it tagged that top, okay, which is quite similar to Hang Seng, right? You can expect a little bit upside. Maybe Hang Seng would have more upside potential as compared to maybe A50. Okay, so that's the take. Yeah. Yeah, so basically that's couple of things to look at, right? Any questions from you guys? No, all good. Hey, so there's no question. Yeah, if there's no question, basically that's about it for today. Okay. Again, those are some of the things to definitely take note on. Yeah. So if there's no question, then all the best to trading. Do keep an eye on those opportunities that I mentioned just now. Okay, and that's all from me for today. Yeah, Chia says notice that some indices are slowing down. Yeah, that's basically what I'm looking at as well, right? Generally, especially like after a strong push, you just need to wait, you know, to give it some time to reset, right? That develop the correction itself, um, before the pullback, before another move. Same thing here. If you kind of look at some of this Asia stocks, right, or Asia indices, we're in a bigger potential range environment. Okay, but again, every time you kind of see, a strong push, a strong move, it needs some time to reset. Okay, so yeah, kind of like a cycle, right? You just need to be patient after a move, just wait, and then right on the next move, and then you probably need to wait it a little bit while again, right? Hey, good. So that's all from me. All the best for this week here. Definitely a lot of key events to take note of, right? So just be careful out there. And yeah, we'll see you guys then in the next one. Okay, so that's all. Bye bye.